You're in a good place now. Relax, breathe, smile. You've entered into your element, the home of origin, the home of intelligence and entertainment, where relevant topics are discussed and where what you think counts, and where superior is the norm. You're listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess, live on 660 The Answer.
Welcome back live to Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. What's next? Have you lived a life worth living? Are you a pioneer in your own life? Do you feel as though you're doing everything you ever wanted to do, or instead are you experiencing feelings of restlessness and, stress for what you've not experienced? We've all heard you want to experience all life has to offer. How many of us actually do? What does it mean? What does it really mean to experience all life has to offer? Bill, how do you feel about your life right now?
Well, it's a work in progress. I can't say that I've experienced all that life has to offer. But as long as I'm taking breath, I'm doing it one step at a time.
I understand. I think that's a good thing. Yeah, as long as you're alive, that's something we can talk about. Yeah, but sometimes a lot of us either are really happy, I'm happy with where I am, or not happy. And I feel like I'm happy where I am. I'm constantly move forward.
I think I'm moderately happy with where I am, but I'm definitely looking to move forward.
Right, but there is some happiness there.
Yeah, I just sometimes I feel like I'm trying to move forward and in like really thick fog, and I don't have a flashlight.
That's hard to do.
So it's like just kind of feel your way, just stumbling.
That's my eye, Bill. That was my eye.
Right,
in the eye.
And I stub my toe against the couch or whatever. Yeah.
Oh, that's gonna leave a mark.
Yes.
A few years ago, I wasn't very happy at all. I was very restless and very stressed out. And it's because, like you were saying, it's hard to kind of figure out the way. How do you begin to experience all life has to offer? I think it seems that many of us are married, right, in relationships, have children, jobs, and what? Lots of responsibilities. We have these responsibilities, and with all these responsibilities, where and when do we get to sip the nectars of the gods? You start wondering, when do I get to do that? Think about, when are you allowed to suckle off the teat of life? When are we allowed to do that? Do I sound very philosophical right now?
Actually, you're making me hungry.
Bill, hungry. Does it mean to drop all responsibilities and have fun, to party, to forget our responsibilities, or instead, is there a way that we can experience all life has to offer in keeping up with our responsibilities? What do you think?
Well, the responsibilities. Of course, we did a show previously about that, which, by the way, we are live tonight, and we're also live on Facebook and Twitter. And, Ashley, I would love for our listeners to join us in our discussion tonight to see what they think about it.
Are you a pioneer in your own life?
Yeah.
Make some comments. Tweet us, Ashley, at Ashley Burgess, or on Facebook, on Ashley Burgess, or Perspectives with Ashley Burgess, because we really want to know what you have to say. We want to know if you feel like you're a pioneer, or do you feel more like, you're stuck? Do you feel more like, you're stuck, you're in handcuffs? I think sometimes we feel that way.
I definitely felt that way. Me, I definitely felt that way about 5 years ago. And when I was in another profession, and I was stuck. And it was a profession I didn't want to be in, and didn't really know how to get out of it. And so I was stuck. And I really had to do a lot of major soul searching to figure out, what I wanted to do in life. And I think that I've taken, the steps forward to do that. But like I said earlier, there's no real, it's not like I can just pull up Google Maps and, okay, here I am at A, I want to go to B, and there's the shortest way to get there. I'm just kind of, just kind of flailing forward.
Well, and I think that a lot of people are like that, unless you're going by, unless you have a person that's telling you and instructing you how to go, or you're following in the footsteps of somebody exactly. Unless you're doing that, you really are forging your own path. And I think that we don't give ourselves enough credit in that situation because we don't really think about ourselves being a pioneer. Right? I really do think it's the concept of pioneer versus prisoner.
Yeah,
are you a pioneer or are you a prisoner in your own life?
I think a lot of people, when they hear pioneer, they think, John Wayne, cowboy movies.
John Wayne walked out of the saloon.
But yeah, I mean, you can definitely be a pioneer in your own life. I think that's a great way to put it.
Yeah, because I think we can all do this. I think that we can all establish some really cool stuff. But I think in order to begin to understand, we must define what experiencing all life has to offer really is. I think it begins by figuring out what it is you want to experience in life. What do you want to get out of life? What matters? What matters most in your life? I think we experience a lot of things. We can experience all kinds of different things, but is it just a contest to say I did this or did that with little love and little payout? I mean, I think sometimes it's almost like you want to scratch things off. You want to get the T-shirt, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, with me, it has to be something that I really want to do. And I'm not lazy. I'm not just sitting on the couch being lazy, but I do think that there's some things I'm not really interested in doing.
Well, and if you don't really want to do it, why spend the time and energy?
Right.
That's the way I look at it. And in my case, I do, tend to be lazy sometimes. So it has to be something I really want to do in order to get my, fat butt up off the couch.
Well, I think
go and do it.
I think there was a time when I wanted to go, they put you in those metal boxes, those big cages, and they put you down in the ocean, and the great whites, come around and attack the cage and do all this stuff. And I remember there was years ago that I really, really wanted to do that. And then the other day I was on the phone with somebody, and we were talking, and they were bringing that up, and I was thinking, man, I wouldn't want to do that at all. Like, now I've grown up to the point where I know who I am and what I want to do, and I'm like, I wouldn't want to do that. That's not at all interesting to me.
Actually, I would love to do that.
Would you really?
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
And pet the shark as he goes by. Good Sharky.
Yeah. Bill's missing his right hand now at this point.
Here, Fido,
Come here. I'm going to take you home.
Right.
You get to meet all your friends. The last people you ever see is in that
so
cage.
Smile. Yeah.
Smile for the camera.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, my deal is like, it's not really my thing now. But, okay, so let's talk about that. So if it's caged, if it's in a cage with great whites attacking you, or what about, example, I love space travel, right? I think space travel is amazing. I've never gone in space, okay. As far as, literal space.
I've always thought you was a space cadet, though.
Oh, yes. I do not have blonde hair, though, by the way.
I'm here every night and on a matinee, tip your waitress.
I can't believe you said that to a brunette. I can't believe it. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, but think about it. I will be tipping you, too, on this one. So, I love space travel and the idea of actually venturing to new planets, right? However, I would not sign up for the flight to Mars. I mean, you've heard about that, Bill.
I have. They're making a big deal about that, yeah.
I mean, think about it. If you actually safely arrive there, it takes you the better part of 9 months to get there.
That's right.
9 months. Think about this. Everybody listening tonight, think about this. How many times have you gotten into a car to take a road trip, and when you're halfway there, you're like, I just got to turn around? I mean, and you're only going from Dallas to Florida. Okay, you're going from here to Disney World. Come on. I mean, you got the kids screaming in the car. All this stuff's hitting the fan. You got to go to the bathroom. You're tired. Your back hurts. And you're like, I'm going to turn this car around. Well, guess what? You're not turning a spaceship around. Right. I mean, think about it. 4 days later, you go, oh, my God.
What have I done?
What have I signed up for? I mean, 9 months. Think about being 9 months in a car that you can't ever get out of. You can't pull on the side of the road and see the biggest ball of twine. You can't pull on the side of the road and use the restroom at a racetrack. No, you can't. You know what? You're in that tube with those people that are probably going to be the last people you ever see.
Right. So
the last people.
Yeah, it's not like Big Brother, okay? You can't just vote them out.
And you can't just go home after 7 weeks or whatever, you
right.
know? And, I mean, and be in a house in Malibu or something, you know? I mean,
actually, I just thought something funny. You know, it's especially tough on the women. You know, what if you are pregnant?
You can't go and be pregnant.
And it's 9 months. So when you land on Mars, then you're right.
You don't even know it. You don't know it. You don't know it. Yeah, like a one-night stand. I'm just kidding. I mean, like, you don't know it, you know? That would be crazy. I mean, think about that. I mean, think about 9 months and think about, let's just say that you actually come back. Just the travel alone is 18 months plus the time that you spend there. Mm-hmm. I mean, but they're talking about never coming back. I mean, this new NASA thing that's happening, 2022, they're talking about never coming back.
Yeah,
that's
like
it.
Setting up a colony. And
setting
that's
up a colony.
That's
there.
your home.
And these people in the process, I think they said something about 100,000 applied. I think it was more like 30,000, but they're claiming 100,000 people applied and put their resumes and their videos and stuff like this online. And they paid, if you were in the United States, you paid $38. to apply. If you're in Mexico, it's 15 because they go by gross national product. So, I mean, move to Mexico, pay 15, whatever.
I was going to say, yeah.
But, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, really, this doesn't matter. And I think in the meantime, once they do pick, they keep these people in solitary confinement. I mean, to me, it is wow. I mean, think about all the stuff. Think about all the stuff you would miss if you went. I mean, I think that's where we're going tonight is what does it mean to be a real pioneer in your life? Do you have to go to a different planet? I mean, what do you have to do to find this? So when we return, we're going to be talking more about that and more about if you are actually living a life worth living. Stay tuned because Perspectives with your host, me, Ashley Burgess, will be back in 2 shakes.
Turn it up and jump in the deep end on Perspectives with Ashley Burgess. The water's warm and there's a swim-up bar. A glass of perspective, anyone? Now, here's Ashley.
Starting today, Mars One is accepting applications from interplanetary pioneers. You must be willing to go further than any human has ever been to live on another world. The criteria: you need to be adaptable, resilient, resourceful, and a team player. You would be the new Christopher Columbus or Magellan, but there are downsides. No oceans, no trees, no morning cup of coffee. Instead, dust storms, barren deserts, volcanoes, and the biggest downside of all, you can never return. But Marsonauts won't be taking off anytime soon. First, they'll undergo 8 years of intensive training, isolated from the rest of the world, learning to live in close spaces. They'll take off on their mission in 2022. No human has ever stepped foot on the red planet. It could be you. Zane Vergy, CNN, London.
Welcome back live to Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. We're talking tonight about living a worthy life. Is your life worth living? Are you a pioneer in your own life? Do you feel as though you're doing everything you ever wanted to do? Or on the flip side, are you experiencing feelings of restlessness, stress, that you've not experienced what you want out of life? We've all heard you want to experience all life has to offer, but how many of us actually have? And right before the break, we started talking about going to Mars. We're talking about pioneering Mars, and in 2022, they're going to be taking a few brand new first-time trip to Mars to colonize it. And, we were talking about this right before the break about it takes 9 months to get there. And I was asked by some people at NASA if I wanted to do it. And I said, you know what? I definitely think that's a cool idea. And at first when I heard the idea, I was like, this is an amazing idea. I want to go to Mars. But then I heard 9 months. And then I started thinking about the 9 months. 9 months there. Think about it, 9 months in a car that you can never get out of. Think about that. Thinking about being in a tube for 9 months. And after your day 5, you're like, oh, crap. I cannot believe I signed up for this. And when I put that in perspective, I was like, heck no, I'm not going on that trip. I mean, right. Think about it. For everybody that's listening tonight, go on and tweet us at Ashley Burgess or Facebook us on Perspectives with Ashley Burgess and let us know if you think you would like to be going to Mars and be a pioneer on a new planet. I think that's kind of interesting because I always like to hear what people think about that kind of stuff because, again, it is pretty Wild West out there. It's a new thing. Well,
almost literally because, no human beings ever set foot on Mars. Once upon a time, no human being had ever set foot on the Great Plains or in Death Valley.
Exactly.
And or
the United States.
Right. Before there was like I said before the show started, Ashley, the first English colony in North America, Jamestown, failed. They all died. And so who's to say that wouldn't happen for the first colony on Mars? Now, we got the technology, and you would hope that wouldn't happen, but you can't really tell, can you?
But it is another planet. And, apparently there's, sandstorms and dust storms and volcanoes and, basically it's like
really, really cold.
Mayhem. And there's, there's no oceans, though. There's no trees. To me, I'm a big
rivers,
environmental person.
No grass.
Oh, gosh. I'd just be like, what are you going to do? You sit out there and look at the dirt all day. I don't know. At first, it sounded very glamorous to me. It sounded very interesting, and it got my attention. And even that clip we just played, that even kind of gives me the chills. It gives me the chills, the bumps. I'm like, yeah. Oh, my Oh my God, we could go to a planet, and oh my God, we could like create this thing, and we could be the first of its kind, and people back at home would be watching us going, hey, we'd be waving and stuff, in our spacesuits and looking all cool. Or we might not ever get there. We might not ever get there.
I was going to say, I mean, who's to say that maybe a meteor wouldn't hit the spaceship? I mean, I don't mean to be,
maybe we run out of fuel.
Pessimistic about it, but
maybe we burn up in an atmosphere. Maybe we get hit in a minefield, in a black hole. Maybe we get hit by asteroids. Maybe hit by rocks.
The Klingons, destroy it or whatever.
Maybe aliens stop the ship.
Right.
We're beamed up to a different planet.
Exactly.
Wow.
Okay, we could go way far with this.
Wait, well, it's true, but think about going to a different planet. So think about this. What would happen in 2 years? Let's just say that you actually came back, because that's not the plan here. The plan for this expedition is actually to go there and to colonize it and never to come back. But let's just say that you could go 9 months, fly there, get there, kind of like colonize some stuff, and then come back 9 months later. I mean, it takes 9 months to get back. Think about what would all change if you went on your own. What would happen to your marriage if you're married? What would happen to your boyfriend or girlfriend? What would happen to your family? I mean, think about 2 years of time, what 2 years of time is, because I think a lot of times we don't really put it in perspective. In 2 years, you can do a lot with your life. In 2 years, you can do a very little with your life.
And probably what would stop a lot of people from going on this, think of how many iPhone upgrades you would miss. I can just see our listeners right now that they just like crashed their cars or something. Hopefully everybody's okay out there.
2 iPhone updates. Oh my gosh, I could have had a bigger phone.
Yeah, exactly. So
what about the latest social media? Because there's new social media stuff coming up on here. That's about to take over Facebook. Where they're gonna have no ads. Think about that. You would totally miss out on that. You'd be the only person with just 2 friends. And you got to get back and get those too. I mean, everybody be talking about it. I mean, think about how much you would miss. Think about your career. I mean, that's gone. I mean, nobody's going to hold that for you. You can't be working for a company. Nobody's going to say, "Oh, okay, Bill, well, you got to leave. You're leaving for, for space. So we'll hold your spot for you. Don't worry about it."
Yeah, not going to happen.
I mean, some people can't even go to jury duty. Some people go to jury duty and they lose their job, much less 2 years. And that's to say you come back. And what about the state of the nation, a state of the world? Think about what 2 years in this political and this crazy wartime would happen. I
was just about to say though, Ashley, I know some people, however, who would say, well, human race is beyond fixing, so they're willing to give up their iPhone upgrades, to go to another planet and start over.
They're willing to give up their iPhone upgrades.
I mean,
well, you don't need an iPhone in Mars. There's only going to be like 4 people to talk to. So
unless you take a Wi-Fi with you. Well, because I mean, who knows? You take your dune buggy over the hill, and you may need to send a text back. So if you have your Wi-Fi connection there, I mean, yeah.
We're going to have Wi-Fi up at Mars?
Why not? Take it.
We're going to have Wi-Fi up there?
Why not?
Well, I think we just need to have those little handheld, like, walkie-talkies. Bill, I'm over here at a sand dune. Bill, I'm over here at a sand dune. No, not that sand dune. I'm over here at this other sand dune.
The sand dune.
No, not that one. No, take a right and a left at the next sand dune.
Exactly.
I'm on the other side. Yeah. I have a sand dune buggy problem right now.
Actually, knowing our luck, they probably implant like a chip in your brain or something where you don't even have to have the walkie-talkie. You can just think it.
Just like you can just think about peeing and you don't have to really do it.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Or remember that science fiction movie, that one, oh my gosh, where they actually reprocess the urine and process it back into water?
Oh, yes.
God bless us all. Anyway, I had to bring it up. So,
Yum.
What about like the state of the nation, though? Think about that. iPhones, think about war, too. Think about, we just had, a situation come up here. Think about the health of the nation. Think about all the stuff that's going on. What would the world look like in 2 years, I wonder? 2 years, there's pretty good change.
In a way, it's time travel, isn't it?
Yeah, but you lose it.
Yeah, and you come back, if you, assuming you do ever come back, 2, 3, 4, 5 years later or whatever, and all of a sudden, you don't hardly recognize anything anymore.
It's like constantly flying from L.A. to Dallas and losing all that time, but doing it in a very far distance. Now, think about it. It's just insane. Think about this. Like, you have to lose all this time and you come walking back in your life. What is going to be there? Because you wanted to be a pioneer, and I think, and what if it's the last thing you do? And I think a lot of times in life, whether you're flying to Mars, whether you're changing careers, whether you're moving, whatever it is, you have to think about life and realize that it might not always be there. I think a lot of times we make decisions based on the fact that we're always going to be here. And you know what I'm saying. Like,
yes.
People make decisions based on the fact that nothing's ever going to change. Like, think about how many times we have arguments with people, our family members, our friends, and we have these really bad arguments, and not once do we sit there and really apologize sometimes. We don't see the things that we love about them a lot of times, and guess why? That's because we think that we're always going to be here, that they're always going to be here, and one day y'all are going to get over it. Well, some of this stuff needs to get over with now, because you really don't know if mom or dad or so-and-so is going to be around, really honestly. And you kind of have to live your life like that.
Or here's another way to look at it, the rapture. I remember that was a fad a few years ago, but
I think it's still a fad.
Is it still? It's like what happens if God just takes you?
Well, I think they're putting a movie out about this right now.
Yes, they are actually.
They are. They're doing it.
You're driving along, and all of a sudden, poop,
bam,
and the car keeps on going. And crashes.
What happens
into
with the people in the car besides you? If you're the driver, oh my God!
Yeah.
Holy Mary, Mother of God, what are we going to do here? We're stuck in this.
Yeah.
That would be awful. They take the driver out, but then I guess it's just collateral damage. But maybe that was all part of it. You had to have it all happen at one time. Everybody's going to the same spot. So, I meuld rather get
Otherwise, it wouldn't be a very good movie without a bunch of car crashes.
No, you got to have car crashes and all kinds of stuff. Remember the Blues Brothers? Love that. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, baby. Oh, yeah. And then you have to think about it. You can't turn around. A lot of times we have to make decisions sometimes that we can't change. And this is definitely one of them. You can't turn around. You can't sit there and say, "Oh, look at all your friends in the plane." Going, oh, you know what? I left the oven on. I'm going to need to go back home. I'm going to need to go back. I think the oven's on. I think it's at 450. This could really hurt. This could burn down the house. Or I left the dryer on, and I think it would cause a fire. I don't think I've cleaned that lint tray yet. So when we return, we're going to be talking more about how to be a pioneer in your own life. So stay tuned, because Perspectives, when your host, me, Ashley Burgess, will be back in. You know what? We'll be back in 2 shakes.
This is Jake Busey, and you're listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess on 660 The Answer.
Welcome back live to Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. Tonight's show, we're talking about, have you lived a life worth living? Are you a pioneer in your own life? Do you feel as though you're doing everything you ever wanted to do, or are you experiencing feelings of restlessness and stress for what you haven't experienced? We've all heard you want to experience all life has to offer, but how many of us actually do? What does it mean to experience all life has to offer? And right before the break, we were discussing the whole concept of going to Mars, this whole NASA 2022, where they're going to take people and you're never coming back. It's going to take you 9 months to get there. And, it would be one thing maybe if you came back, but it takes you 9 months to get there, and you hope and pray you get there, and then you colonize Mars. And I think that is definitely the definition of pioneer in every definition of the word, but I do think that we can actually pioneer in our own lives. I think that we can all be our own pioneer, and I think it just depends on our definition, as well as what is a life worth living? What does that mean? Keenan, we were just talking about this on break, about how you can be a pioneer in your own life, and I think Bill really brought up a good point earlier about how, sometimes you're just trying to figure it out, like he's trying to figure out his life in a fog with no flashlight, but he knows he's going in some direction, and I think that's inherently the same for a lot of us.
Well, the way I look at it, you just gotta, in some cases, you gotta be like water.
The Bruce Lee
yeah,
approach.
Yeah, the Bruce Lee philosophy. When water is poured into a teacup, it becomes a teacup, in a way. And when it comes to pioneering and through this journey of life, right? Here's the thing. People, they have all these plans, and the thing is, though, there's something that I'm against called over planning. I hate over planning.
Okay, I know that for a fact that Keenan doesn't like to plan. He talks about it all the time. He doesn't even like to talk on the phone about planning anything either.
Right.
Because you've had people blow plans anyway. Like when you finally do get into the plan and then the plan's broken.
Yeah, exactly. So, because the thing is, plans, they seldom survive the collision with reality, So as you pioneer your way through life, per se, you got to be able to be somewhat free-flowing with it, because you never know, what direction life's going to take you. Because the thing is, when you think about it, pretty much every day, several times a day, we actually make major decisions in our lives. We actually do.
I think we make major decisions by the direction we go. I mean, I think if you drive one way versus the other, you could have a whole change in your life.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of like the butterfly effect, right? I mean, butterfly flaps its wings in China, and there's a hurricane, in the Atlantic. So, little things like that can have major consequences down the road.
Meeting somebody or not meeting somebody.
Yeah, exactly.
Being there on a scene or not being there on a scene. You can go one direction and you can see a fire.
Yeah.
And you can call the police and you can save somebody's life. You could have gone the other direction, never seen the fire, and actually those people's lives aren't saved. Or maybe they are, but just not by you. And you're right. It's just it's about how we look at it. I kind of see life, like you said, as pioneers, like the way every day of your life is.
Yeah. So I mean, even making the decision of staying home on a Saturday or Friday night. No, I said that backwards, didn't I? Yeah, I said that backwards. But yeah,
it's like staying at home on a Sunday, Saturday, Friday, Thursday.
We know what you meant. Yeah, on a weekend.
Yeah. Staying home on the weekend or even
Monday
on a
or
weekday
Sunday.
or whatever. I'm like, the thing is though, is like you actually made a major decision in your life, because think about it. If say you're by yourself and you decide to stay home that night instead of going to wherever you want to go or normally go on a Friday night, you miss out on things like meeting people and like Ashley said earlier.
Or it could be that it was a good thing you missed out on meeting
Exactly.
somebody.
Or you missed out on a car accident. or being killed or having something bad happen.
Or going to jail.
Or it's
going to the pokey.
Or it's a good thing that you didn't meet that person.
Exactly.
You don't know.
Yeah, you
Could've
never.
been borderline personality
that's the
disorder.
thing.
Change
You
your whole
never.
life.
I mean, you never know. And I have a friend, and she likes to make all these elaborate plans. And
Does she ever keep them?
no. Well, when it comes to hanging out with me, she doesn't keep them.
She does.
She does not.
Oh.
I gotta say, probably 90% of the time, she doesn't keep them. Does not.
That's just rude.
What a great friend.
I was going to say, friends like that, you don't need any enemies, right?
Well, sometimes they just get so forgetful, though. And also, it's commonplace. Sometimes people just, they don't know.
Well, yeah. I mean, people say, oh, well, I forgot. But, let those.
Well, then just forget me, then.
Well,
forget my number.
Well, basically. Basically, I mean, but, where was I going? But yeah.
Where were you going, Keenan?
But, but anyways.
He doesn't know he's a pioneer.
Yeah, I'm a pioneer. I'm a pioneer, and I'm talking about over planning and the thing.
Over planning, though.
Over planning as you're pioneering your way through life. I mean,
I think you can plan though good.
You can plan good, but you got to leave room for flexibility now, because I know
Going with the flow.
Yeah, exactly. Because I knew in the Air Force, or any military branch, we had a saying, improvise, adapt, and overcome, or I don't plan, I improvise. And the thing is, if you're coming up with a plan that's too elaborate, we say, no, we're not going to do that. Too many moving parts. Well, something's going to go wrong.
And so here's the thing, Keenan, this really touches me, because I tend to overplan. I don't like the unknown, and I like, I kind of make a joke to people. I like to play my spontaneity.
It's actually not a joke. You actually do that.
Yeah, I do. I do that.
Any fun that Bill has is planned.
I feel uncomfortable when I don't know what's about to happen, and sometimes it works against me when something happens I don't expect. Oh, blankety blank, And now what do I do? Now, actually, I know our listeners have had situations like that.
And how much planning do you do? And we want to hear about your planning. Do you overly plan? Do you underplan? Do you normally have plans that come to fruition? Or are you one of those people that like to fly by the seat of your pants? Why don't you go on and tweet us at Ashley Burgess, or on Facebook at Perspectives with Ashley Burgess. We're here right now, live tweeting, live Facebooking. And I agree with you. I mean, is it over planning? And being a pioneer, it seems that planning kind of goes against the pioneer thing. But I mean, in the pioneer's stratus, if you think about it, what we're all doing is pioneering. Like, my family didn't do this. I don't come from a long line of radio talk show hosts. I don't come from a long line of authors. I mean, it's not like, my dad's a dentist and I became a dentist, and so I kind of knew how to become a dentist, and I kind of knew how to open my own practice and that kind of thing. No, I'm forging all this on my own. And I think just like most people that are listening tonight are doing something on their own, whether it's their career or their life, or, maybe it's their relationship. Maybe they're, taking care of children. I mean, there's no one way of taking care of children. There's no one way to have a marriage. There's no one way to have a life. At what point in time do you actually see your life as being something pretty intricate? And I think that's what Keenan's getting at, is that you can have all these great things, but sometimes we think that our life is humdrum. We don't think that choices mean anything, but our choices can change our whole life.
And like you were saying, you actually make major choices every day, even if you don't realize it.
Exactly.
You do.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, let's go. I mean, I don't know if I want to touch upon that subject, but for example, 9/11. Think about some of the people that decided to call in sick that day,
or vacation,
or
personal
vacation.
Day.
Yeah.
I got one for you. My mom works with a financial guy that worked in the trade center. He was with Bear Stearns, and if you know Bear Stearns, everybody, almost all that entire company that was there died. Okay, they all did. And he decided to take a phone call from my mom, and he was at a breakfast place early in the morning, and he was having a bagel and schmear, and decided to take a call from my mom. And anybody knows if you take a call from my mom, I love her dearly, but she's going to ask you a lot of questions. She's going to keep you on the phone for a while, okay? So he took the phone call. He leaves the cafe heading there, okay, to the World Trade Centers. And when he's almost there, he literally goes, he's still on the phone with my mom. He goes, oh, crap. And he goes, I just left my glasses and my wallet at the cafe. He's like, sweetheart, I'm going to, Ganira, I'm going to need to call you back. And so my mom was like, okay, sorry about that. He's like, yeah, I'm going to miss this meeting. I got to hurry. I'll talk to you later. We'll work all this out. So when he was going back to get his wallet and his glasses, that's when it happened.
Oh,
wow.
So by agreeing to take the call from my mom, knowing that he probably was like, oh, God, I'm going to be on this call for a while, he saved his life. And by my mom keeping him on the phone where he wasn't thinking, okay, because you know how it happens when you're on the phone call and you probably leave something. He sent my mother that whole Bose system, that whole stereo system, and like 10 pounds of chocolate and something else. But think about that. You make a choice.
And I actually remember news reports from the time where I think they interviewed somebody. Either they missed the flight or they decided to change the flight. Anyway, they were scheduled to be on one of the planes. And
oh my gosh,
they something happened and they weren't on the plane.
Oh my, isn't that wild?
I mean, it just gives me goosebumps.
My dad was supposed to be on that flight. Remember that flight? It was a long time ago. I was very young. It was a flight that had wind shear at DFW Airport, and it had that flight that had wind shear where 200 something people, a bunch of people died. It was a long time ago, back in the 80s. My dad was supposed to be on that flight, and he decided not to get on the flight. And he called me and was like, he ended up taking a voucher. I think it was a voucher thing because it was too full.
Right.
So he took the voucher, and then he called me and was apologizing for not being at a recital or something of mine. And then it happened. Yeah, he didn't die. But I think it's all about our choices, and it could be a positive thing. We could choose into a positive scenario, we could choose into a negative scenario, but either way, our choices are like a pioneer. It's like we're creating our own board game. So stay tuned. When we return, we're going to be talking about more about how to be a pioneer in your own life and how to live a life worth living. Perspectives with your host, me, Ashley Burgess, will be back in 2 shakes.
I could lift you up. I could show you what you want to see and take you where you want to be.
Get in here. Give us your perspective. We're listening. And you're listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess.
This is how you see things. This is amazing.
It's a gigantic pain in the ass, but it has its moments.
Wait, this game doesn't happen till October.
Well, it's always October and November and March. So many futures, and they're all real. Just don't know which one will coalesce. Until then, they're all happening. Like this one, it's my favorite moment in human history.
Welcome back to Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. We're discussing tonight about living a life worth living. Have you lived a life that you're happy about living? Are you a pioneer in your own life? Do you feel as though you are doing everything you ever wanted to, everything you ever wanted to experience, or on the opposite? Are you feeling restless? Are you feeling stressed out on the things that you haven't? We've all heard you want to experience all life has to offer, but how many of us actually do that? How many of us actually experience all life has to offer? I mean, I think that's kind of a lot. So we talked about the Mars concept, we talked about pioneering, we talked about the concept of how to pioneer in your own life, because I don't think you have to be a pioneer that goes to another planet that's considered a pioneer. I think that's extreme, but I think a lot of us are living a life that's either a pioneer because we embrace it, or we're living a life of a prisoner, in our own life. What are you, a pioneer or a prisoner?
Well, maybe actually we need to back up for a second. What is a pioneer? What do you mean to be a pioneer in your life? And to me, it means that you are willing to explore new territory, and take a chance in your life. And it could be career-wise, relationship-wise, personal, hobby,
meditational-wise.
Religious or spiritual vacation, anything where you are willing to kind of dive into the unknown a little bit.
So you're talking about life experiences. Like,
Yes.
What does it mean to have real life experiences? It's exactly true. What are real life experiences? What does it mean? I mean, what do you think a real life experience is?
Real life experience, that's pretty much to me, I mean, that's being willing to take a chance. That's what it is, because there are like way too many people out there that I think I come in contact with that are just pretty much unwilling to take a chance on anything.
Yeah. Because, and I to a certain extent, I used to be that way too, Keenan.
Right.
And, when I moved from my small hometown in West Texas, to the Dallas area, that was taking a big chance. I had no friends. I had no family.
Mm-hmm.
I was
You were being a pioneer.
I was taking the header off the high board, bro.
Yeah.
You were being a pioneer, going against what anybody in your family, probably going against their better judgment. They were probably saying, Bill, you should stay in Amarillo. Why are you going to Dallas? You don't need to go to Dallas. Dallas is a big city, and it's far, and you're not going to have any family there. And, what happens if something bad happens to you and you have to go to the hospital? And you're just like, my God.
Yeah.
I mean, like, come on, guys.
I did hear that from my grandmother.
I mean, I heard something similar to that when I joined the Air Force. I mean, all the what if scenarios and everything else. I'm like, well, we can what if this all day. I mean, who cares about the what if? That was just how I thought about everything. Like, who cares about the what if? I mean, whatever happens, And for example, being deployed out to Iraq. Well, what if you die? Okay, well, what if I don't?
Yeah, why don't we look at it from a different perspective?
Exactly. And I would say, well, how was that different than any other day?
I mean, I could die. You could die tomorrow in a car accident. You could die, walking across the street.
Yeah.
I mean, people don't think about that. Like we were talking about that earlier. What about the whole concept of people automatically say, "Oh, I'm going to be here forever"?
No, you're not going to be here forever. I mean, like, I'm sorry, but pretty much your lifespan has been predetermined for you.
I know.
It really has. I mean,
it's
like,
kind of sad though. But yeah.
It's sad, but it's true. I mean, like, all you got to do is look at your family. For example, that's all I got to do. Look at your family.
Straight up, with Keenan Cobb.
Yeah.
I mean, true. My family. I mean, the males of my family, they live to be around 78.
Well, that's better genetics than some, though.
Yeah,
not as good as others.
Not as good as others. I mean, 78 is. I mean, 78. It's like, okay, about to kick the bucket.
I got a good 30 years on it.
Right.
Yeah, so
Keenan gets a Ferrari at the age of 77.
Yeah, why not, right? Like, yeah, sure, my credit's awesome.
Who cares? I'm going to go off this cliff anyway. So.
Exactly, But it's funny though. Like, I see a lot of these. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being a health nut, but to me, it's just that when you're this health nut and you're trying to pretty much, dictate the way others should be healthy also. You look at a person's appearance like, oh, well, you're not healthy because you weigh such and such. I mean, I don't know why we live in a country that states that overweight equals unhealthy when we watch the National Football League every Sunday and we see a bunch of fat athletic guys called the offensive linemen.
Yes, a defensive lineman.
Oh, yeah, defensive lineman also.
And I think you brought up a good point, is that this is the whole idea contrary to being a pioneer, is I think a lot of times we lose the ability to be a pioneer because we're too busy looking at what other people are doing.
Yeah.
Like we start putting down our own life and saying, well, it's not that good, and all the judgments and all the decisions I make are not going to matter anyway. So let me watch reality shows. Let me judge my friends. Oh, look how much healthier I am than Keenan. I'm more healthier than Keenan. Keenan's less healthier than me. Keenan's not healthy. You're going to die. You have bad genetics. I mean, it's like, why don't we focus on ourselves and be the pioneer in our own life? And I think that it means by what life experiences are. Like, think about it. What is life experience? It's like, think about life experiences. What are they? They're like getting married, having kids, prolonged self-understanding. Think about loss, pain, suffering. Think about all this stuff, experimenting with drugs and alcohol. That's something too. Traveling the world, doing a lot of meditation, understanding yourself. And I think all of these life experiences really make us into something wise. I mean, think about when you go to a job and they want to know your experience, but they want to know your real world experience too.
Yeah, they do.
Because it means something more than just going to school and learning from a textbook. You need to be able to rationally get involved and have cognitive behavior and thoughts and also have dealt with something like this. And so I think anybody that's listening tonight, get on Twitter at Ashley Burgess, Berges, at Ashley Burgess, or on Facebook on Perspectives with Ashley Burgess, and let us know how real world experiences have benefited you. What kind of real world experiences do you consider to be life learning experiences? What makes us wise? We always hear that. Oh, they've had so much experience, they're wise. You know, we're not talking about sex here. We're not talking about being a whore.
Yeah,
we're
Keenan.
talking about we're talking about being Keenan. That's so sad. Poor Keenan got like picked on.
Yeah, I know. He's looking at me like, what?
No,
He's like, come on, man.
I mean, no, I don't have a lot of experience in that. So, I mean, like, not a whole lot of say some people and stuff like that, because anyway, yeah, continue.
When sex
don't think she can.
Sex becomes the career, life experiences. So think about these life experiences like going through pain, suffering, which I don't think it all has to be negative. I also think it's about what we understand, what we learn. I mean, the things that we benefit from.
I was about to say, actually, I think you just hit a good point there, because I think for a lot of people, what life experiences have you learned from? And automatically, and I think this is the way we've trained ourselves as a society. Well, something bad happened to me, and I learned this. It's kind of the Oprah syndrome,
right?
The Dr. Phil type syndrome, and I made this horrible decision, or this person.
How is that working for you?
So we think of life experiences as something negative we learn from, but you can absolutely learn something from positive.
And I think that you're right. I know you're right, because I know that even some of the negative stuff we coin negative in the beginning when it happens is a lesson and is an experience that turns around and really does benefit us in the future. I mean, there's reasons why we learn what we learn. I mean, I think there's reasons why other people learn what they learn. I don't think we all learn all the same things, but I think we're all given the same options. We're all given the same options to open our mind. We're all given painful issues. We're all given probably problems in our childhood and all kinds of stuff, depending on the grade of problem. But it's like you can't sit there and judge another person's grade of issue. I mean, because in their mind, it could be the biggest thing.
Yeah.
I mean, and you never know how they're experiencing it. And I think everybody's given something, and I think this experience really allows you to pioneer. Now, you can, like you said, you can overplan, and you can become a prisoner, and you can also make judgments on other people keeping you a prisoner, or you can pioneer and say, you know what, I want to focus on what really matters.
Yeah. But it all depends on what matters to, that particular person.
I was just about to say, and maybe we can get into this more in the next hour, Ashley, but I think in order to be a pioneer in your own life, you have to have a some place to start, and that place to start is, first of all, knowing yourself. Mm-hmm. And knowing, basically what it is that you want to accomplish. Then you can use that as a launching point, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, like I said, it all depends on what matters to yourself. I mean, like I know someone who, they really care about dogs. Mm-hmm. Dogs and pretty much education and teaching and stuff like that, And, this person is willing to be in a really stale 8-year relationship that's going absolutely nowhere.
Good grief.
That's true. I mean, but they care about dogs.
But they care about, but it's like, oh, well, this person takes care of my dogs when I work. So, yeah, sure, I'll stay with this person, even though I have an extra mouth to feed.
That's interesting. No, I mean, I see the point. I see where you're going from A to B, and I think that's what we need to talk about now is a life worth living. When we return, we're going to be talking about 2 different tests. We have a feeling test and a mental test to determine if what you're doing is helping you to create a life worth living, and to figure out if you're happy right now with the life you're in, and to see if you really truly are being a pioneer. So stay tuned, because Perspectives with your host, me, Ashley Burgess, will be back in 2 shakes.
You're in a good place now. Relax, breathe, smile. You've entered into your element, the home of origin. It's the home of intelligence and entertainment, where relevant topics are discussed and where what you think counts, and where superior is the norm. You're listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess, live on 660 The Answer.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
Welcome back to Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. We're talking about if you've lived a life worth living. Are you a pioneer in your own life? Do you feel as though you're doing everything you ever wanted to do, or instead are you experiencing stress and restlessness and feeling like a prisoner? in your own life. You know, we've all heard you want to experience all life has to offer. You know, how many of us actually get to do this? And I think sometimes we all want to sip the nectar of the gods. We all want to suckle off life's teat. Excuse me, my bad. And you know what? You all want to try these things out. You want to do something new. You want to experience life. You want to experience all that life has to offer. And I think in order for us to really realize if we are experiencing a life worth living, there's like two different tests. And I know we were talking about this on break. There's like a feeling test, like a feeling, like we're talking about feelings here, or there's also a mental test. And I think the feeling test is a very interesting one, because if you're feeling fullness, if you're feeling calm, if you're feeling expansion, if you're feeling like you're being, you're awake, your curiosity is there, you're awakening, you feel freedom, you're encouraged, I think those kind of feelings is a feeling that you are a pioneer. It's a feeling that you are in a life that's worth living. Oh yeah, I mean, that deep down, gut feeling, the instinct, if you will. If you can feel it, it's real, and why not go for it? Yeah, and if you feel like you're a prisoner, on the opposite, if you feel like you're confined, you're restricted, you're not becoming all that you want to be, you feel like you're bound up, I think that's the other flip side, that maybe you need to pioneer and become and start a life that's worth living. Well, yeah, hopefully that's possible if you have the resources. If you have the resources, but especially I speak from personal experience. Yeah. I think even if you don't have the resources, I think it can get to the point where it's just okay, enough. Mm-hmm. All right, I may not be rich, but I cannot go on like this. Well, yeah, I've got to make some changes in my life. Yeah. I think anybody can do that, regardless of the level of resources they have. Now there may be a limit as to how much you can. There is a limit on like how much you can do, but the thing is, it depends on pretty much how ticked off you actually just get at life, and like I'm just gonna attack now. Well, think about the flip-flop. I mean, think about people, think about women or men that are, I hate to say it, but being kept men or kept women that literally are living in a life that they don't want to live. They might be living in the biggest mansion on the street. They're confined. They're prisoners in their own home. They're unhappy, but yet they're financially taken care of. At what point in time do you sit there and say, you know what, I did this for a reason, and now I realize that this isn't really the life that I want to live? Well, they probably realized that because they came to the point when they realized that they're just property. Well, they're just property. When you realize that you're someone's property, you pretty much don't want to be there anymore. You want no more of whatever relationship that is or whatever situation that is. You want no more of that. So, I mean, you have to pioneer a new life. Yeah, I'm like, so I have to pioneer a new life, And the thing is, if the person who's being a kept man, kept woman, whatever, are they willing to just leave? Are they willing to leave? Because the thing is, like when someone is paying for your life, it's hard to leave. You might get mad, you might get upset, but guess what? Though you will not leave. Because people prefer the devil they know to the devil they don't. Exactly. And the thing is, though, the person that is paying for your life, they're gonna throw it up in your face. Oh, absolutely. Any moment in time. What you want to pioneer? You want to do something? Go ahead, do something. I pay for your life. And I think at that point in time, you have to just sit there and figure out what is it that I want to do. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of people out there listening tonight that are probably going through some life changes, or maybe they got married at a young age. Or maybe they know someone who has. Or maybe they know someone who has that's going through this traumatic experience, because we can create lives for ourselves, right? Lives. We can create these lives. And at the time, it might be exactly what we thought we needed. It might have been exactly what we needed, but people grow. Yeah. People change. Or not necessarily change. I think sometimes people realize more about who they truly are, so they never change. They just finally realize. They just evolved. Yeah, they just realized, okay, this is what it's all about, And at that point in time, when your life is literally, discongruent from what you want, i.e., you feel like a prisoner, this might be helping you to one level, but to another level, it's strangling you. That's when you have to figure out, what is it that I'm going to do to pioneer my life? Am I going to keep doing this and just hate on life, or am I going to move on? Actually, if our listeners, if they are going through that, or if they know someone who's going through all that, I want to know about it. Details, share.
Yeah.
Share about it. Yeah, put it on social media, put it on Twitter, put it on Facebook with us at Ashley Burgess or Perspectives with Ashley Burgess on Facebook. I think that there's also, like the whole mental test, besides the feeling test, because we can all have feelings. But what about the mental test? And I think because sometimes feelings can, work for some people. Sometimes people are more in tune to their feelings. Some of us are more in tune to the mental side.
Yeah, some of us are more, intuitive, and some of us are more, I guess, for lack of a better word, rational. They kind of like me. I think I'm more on the rational side. I want to have a logarithm. I mean, have a formula, have a map for me to follow.
Well, this is perfect for you. I'm giving you the breadcrumbs right now. You like this. So the mental test is when you look back over your life from this exact moment. Okay, think about it. Can you answer yes to these questions? Okay, the first question is, if I had to live life over, all of it over again, would I choose to live it more or less the same way?
I would probably choose to live less the same way, probably.
Less the same way?
Yeah.
I would choose slightly less.
I'll probably say less. I mean,
on a scale of 1 to 10, I mean, 10 being this is perfect, 1 being not so good. How would you?
I would give it a 7. I mean, 7? there are some things I wish I had back.
You would change things.
Yeah, that I could take a mulligan.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have things you want to change.
Yes, not many.
But you have things you want to change.
Oh yeah. I mean, shoot. I mean, yeah. I went out and did something that only 2% of the U.S. population does, and I was fortunate enough to live through the entire thing. But then I have to, interact with 98% of a population that knows nothing about what I did. So, because the thing is, everyone's, perspective of what the armed forces does is based off movies, and mine is based off real life. So,
and not all of them are all that accurate.
Exactly, and they're not all all that accurate. And the thing is, though, I mean, yes, veterans have a hard time interacting with people once they get back because, they go out and we have all these life experiences, right? We have all these life experiences.
And literally life experience, like life.
And who can you share it with that'll understand where you're coming from?
Exactly. I mean, when people, talk about whatever, the immigrants, the immigrants, they're coming over here and everything like that. Thing is, most of the people that talk about the immigrants, they have no idea what it's like to be in a foreign country. They have no idea what it's like to be the foreigner. They have none whatsoever. Or
they might have been to Europe and then, like in France, didn't speak French, so they screamed really loud. Yeah. I'm talking to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, don't you speak English?
English.
I'm speaking slowly and loudly for you. Can't you understand?
Yeah. I mean, but that experience, I'm like, would I really want to take it back? I don't know. I don't know. There's probably a couple of other things also.
So right now, you don't know if you would take it back. You'd have to ponder it a little bit.
Well, yeah, I got to ponder that.
Well, that's good. At least it wasn't that awful that you're over there.
Oh, no. I mean, it wasn't that awful. But, some of the things, following that, it's just, I don't know. It's just, people are just kind of, yeah.
So then maybe you ought to go to Mars then, Keenan, and get away.
I should go to Mars.
There you go. Just start your own life.
Yeah, but then I would go nuts.
You already are,
bro. Let's just start with California first, and then we'll go from there.
I lived in California for 7 years.
Okay, well, then there you go.
Yeah, I lived there for 7 years. So.
Well, I mean, if I had to live my life over again, I would choose mostly all of it, even the bad stuff, even the stuff that people consider. And there was a time in my life when I used to hate on parts of my life. Like, I would wish to, just forget it. I would wish that I hadn't wasted time. Like, there's some bonehead stuff that I've done, and I think everybody listening tonight has done some bonehead stuff. I mean, you've done things that you're not happy with. You've made decisions that weren't the right decisions. You might have gone back a few years because you made that decision. Money could be owed to you, things of that matter. Relationships, people took advantage of you, what have you. And I think that there's certain things that at one time I was adamantly angry about. But now I kind of look at it, and for the most part, I really embrace things because I think I might not have gotten to this level had I not experienced that. maybe that's my mind saying that, it's okay, and, sugarcoat it for me, so I can figure out that everything's okay, Ashley, you'll be just fine. So when we return, we'll be talking about more about the mental test, what else you need to ask yourself, and what questions you need to explore. So stay tuned, because Perspectives with your host, me, Ashley Burgess, will be back in. We'll be back in 2 shakes.
Turn it up and jump in the deep end on Perspectives with Ashley Burgess. The water's warm and there's a swim-up bar. Glass of perspective, anyone? Now, here's Ashley.
Welcome back to Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. Have you lived a life worth living? On tonight's show, we've been discussing, are you pioneering? Are you a pioneer in your own life, or instead are you a prisoner? A lot of times we feel like we've either experienced a lot, we feel happy with our life experiences, or on the flip side, we feel restless. We feel stressed out. We feel like a prisoner. What is it in your life? How do you feel? When we talk about life, too, we talk about, do you have a life worth living? And right before the break, we had discussed, the feeling test, but then we walked into the mental test. Because a lot of people, like Bill said, that you have to draw a map. It's not all about the feelings. It's sometimes about the mental. So we asked the question. So in any of these questions, you have to see, do you answer yes to any of these questions? The first question we talked about is, if you had to live life over again, all of it, would you choose to live it more or less the same way? Like, was it a good life that you created? Are you happy with it? And Keenan said he would change a few things, right? But not everything.
Well, I'll change some things. I'm like, maybe I shouldn't have spent so much time hanging out with so-and-so, because that was just a waste of time, and I could have been doing other things. Now, what did I learn from that? What I learned was to pretty much dump people as quickly as possible. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty much what I learned. Like, just dump people as quickly.
Well, when you know that things aren't working. Mm-hmm. Don't try to sit there and be a savior.
Yeah. I can't save anybody.
Mm-hmm. They have to save themselves.
Exactly. Yeah. I can't save anybody.
So you learned something big time on that one.
Well, yeah, I learned that you can't play Captain Save or whatever. Can't do it.
Right.
Just can't do it.
I have the white horse. I'm here to save you.
Yep.
Rapunzel.
The White Knight is only in fairy tales.
Yeah, the Disney movies, whatever, all that, whatever Walt Disney told us back when we were
princess
kids.
Movie.
Yeah, telling us this is what life is all about. I'm like, dude, Walt Disney, you lied to me. You lied to me heavily. But I guess it's good to tell kids that life is all about bubblegum and candy and everything like that. But then all of a sudden they're going to hit that age. And
the surly teenage years.
Yeah,
surly years.
Yeah, but see, but the thing is though, but like for example, if you go through war and then you come back and like say you like me, talking to daughter and nephew, right? Mm-hmm. I don't sugarcoat a thing.
Well, I wouldn't sugarcoat to my kids either, to a degree, because I think if you're sugarcoating, that means lying. I don't think that's a good thing. Well, I think if you're trying to kind of not scare them, that might be something too. But so let's ask this next question. If I had to spend eternity living the life I have lived, all of it, would it be acceptable to choose to live eternity this way?
I would say yes to that because, I all things considered, I've had a pretty good life. I've certainly had a better life than a lot of people in this world. I'm pretty lucky.
Yes.
Yeah, if it's like eternity, life I have now, yeah, sure, why not? I'm not on crack or anything like that, so yeah.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
We have a problem.
Yeah, I'm not on drugs.
You'd be selling everything in the studio, and we come back, there'd be like one wire here, and that'd be it. I don't know what happened. Well, we were going to use this. This soup can as a microphone, and we're going to figure this out. 2-way can with a string. I'm just kidding. But
Wow.
I've been around some friends that just take everything.
It's what smoke signals. It's like hopefully everybody can see them.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we had 2 people listen to the show that night. So, I think if you answered yes to all these questions, which is only 2 miraculous questions, but they seem to be kind of big, right? You enjoy your life. You should toast your life, whether you want to have a glass of champagne or some water or whatever, toast it. But you're living a life worth living. I think if you answer no to whole or part, at some level you may be feeling, you have to kind of really consider what it is you're doing, and if you're creating a worthwhile life. Are you happy with what you're creating? And I think we all have the ability to create. That's what's so awesome about this. We all can create a life. We can all pioneer, and I think that's what we were getting at about the pioneering, is creating. We don't have to be stagnant. We don't have to sit there and accept somebody else's perspective of their true life. It's about yours, and so if you want to live it, you got to do it.
Yeah, you've got to take the header off the high board. Okay. Now
Step up to the plate.
Yeah, step up to the plate. Now, I mean, check the pool for water, but at some point, in order to make a change in your life, in order to improve it, in order to accomplish whatever goal you set out for yourself, you've got to take that first step. And a lot of times, taking the first step is the hardest step, but then momentum takes over.
That first step.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you're breaking a tradition of not doing.
Yeah, or you can just jump off a cliff without the parachute, meaning that you have to land on your feet.
That's like moving to a foreign country you don't speak the language.
Exactly. Guess what? You have to learn how to speak that language. You want to eat, right? You want to order food?
Right.
Yeah.
You need to know where the baños are, the bathrooms.
I was going to say, Donde está el baño? You better learn how to say that in English.
And you don't want to sit there and scream, the bathroom!
Yeah.
Where is the bathroom?
The bathroom.
And then you start acting like you're sitting on the toilet as a demonstration to where it is.
But you know what? Out of all the countries that out of all the countries that I've been to, though, I will say this: I have been able to find someone who speaks English, even in Japan. It all depends on how you are. Really, it really does. Now, when
they like you.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, if you start yelling at them, then no, they don't speak any English at all.
A blank you're on your own.
Yeah, basically. But if you walk up to them, if you know a couple of words, say Spanish, hola, ¿cómo está mi amigo?
Yeah,
something like that.
If you at least try.
Yeah, if you at least try. Yeah, I'm like, if you try, then
most people are cool with it.
Yeah, I mean, most people are cool. I remember when I was in Puerto Rico. Now, I do not consider Puerto Rico a foreign country.
Well, it's part of our territory.
It is part of our territory, but there are some people that think that Puerto Rico is a foreign country. The way I look at it like this: if you go to a country and you have to go to the exchange for certain dollar bills, then that is a foreign country. However, in Puerto Rico, guess what? $100 bill is $100 bill.
And you don't need your passport to go.
Exactly. So thus it is not a foreign country.
No, not at all. And I agree with you on that. Well, it's not a foreign country.
No, exactly.
And, actually, I mean, getting back to, the first steps, I know that some of our listeners, maybe you have taken first steps recently, or maybe you're trying to work yourself up to get into that first step. And I want to hear their stories.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, and that's a good point, Bill. I'm glad you brought that up. So, yeah, we want to hear your stories. If you're working to create your life, if you're pioneering a life, go on and tweet us here on Twitter, at Ashley Burgess. We're on here live right now, as well as on Facebook Live on Perspectives with Ashley Burgess, as well as on Ashley Burgess, all those. And we're having conversations now, and we'd like you to join us, because let's talk about creating a life worth living. Let's talk about that. How do you do that? And I think that's something. How do you start pioneering? How do you start settling something? How do you create something? And Bill, you brought up a good question, and I think it starts with exploring your own truth. What is your truth? What are you about? To explore your own truth is a pioneer of sorts. I mean, think about it. A lot of people avoid their own truth. They don't even understand themselves. They can't even understand what makes them tick. They don't even know what they love. Haven't even exposed themselves to themselves. So it's really hard to sit there and say, oh, well, I'm upset about this happening or that or whatever. It's really, you have to sit there and inner focus and, become aware of what it is that what is it that's you that's deep, within you? What is it that's positive? What is it that opposes what you want to do? I mean, you have to kind of think about the programming that we had at young ages. What have we been programmed to think that we can do? What is it that we're programmed that we think we can't do? Yeah. Some people were brought up that they could be the president of the United States. Other people were brought up, parents were saying, maybe you'll get a job as a clerk. We hope you can get that, because we haven't, and I think it's what have you been brought up to? What was your early programming, your caregivers, your society? You have to look at that truth and then realize, does that equate with your truth or is that against your truth? And then at that point in time, I think that you can begin to pioneer.
Again, it's the launching point. We started the show using the example of, the folks who want to train to go to Mars, okay? And once you blast off, that's it. You are committed, and so I think you've got to establish your launching point, and like you said, you've got to know yourself, your own truth, and what it is that you want to accomplish, and then you can just take off.
I agree with that. I mean, think about if you don't know your truth and you get into the go to Mars. 5 days in, turn this around. Oh my God! Oh my God!
You know what?
I
have a gut feeling that is going to happen.
Somebody's going to freak out.
Yeah, of course you'll freak out, because think about it, you're in space.
For 9-month travel.
Yeah, you're in space.
It's like going. It's like going to Disney World. It takes 9 months to get there. You can't ever leave the car, and you never get to stop to gas.
And on top of that, you're gonna lose bone. You're gonna lose so much bone density. It's not even funny.
I mean, you're sitting there, right?
In zero gravity. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, you're gonna lose a lot of bone
They don't have like a
density.
little treadmill in there.
I mean, they do. They have like these little things, but the thing is, it really doesn't help a lot. I mean, like, because astronauts, they lose a lot of bone density.
Get off the treadmill. You're hogging the treadmill.
Right.
Yeah.
John's over here hogging the treadmill. I'm going to beat him with the straw.
I mean,
But along those lines, I mean, that's the sacrifices that you're going to make, and I think if you're going to be a pioneer in your own life, then you're going to have to understand there's going to be some sacrifices that you have to make. There's going to come a point where something doesn't go according to plan, and your first instinct may be, "Oh, gee, I want to turn around now. I want off the ride." Mm-hmm. I don't know if you would be able to do that, or if you do get off the ride, then can you get started again?
And where do you get started at? So when we return, we're going to be talking about how to use your internal compass, how to calibrate, and also we're going to turn to another concept as well. So stay tuned, because Perspectives with your host, me, Ashley Burgess, will be back in. We'll be back in 2 shakes.
This is Jake Busey, and you're listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess on 660 The Answer.
Well said. David, how did that make you feel?
I know my truth.
Excuse me?
I know my truth.
Did you say I know my truth? Oh, boy.
Welcome back live to Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. We've been discussing what it means to have a life worth living. Are you a pioneer in your own life, or instead a prisoner? You know, a lot of us experience things and feelings of happiness or feelings of stress and restlessness based on the fact if we're living our true life, if we're living a life worth living. And, a lot of times we wonder, are we experiencing all life has to offer? What does that mean? Earlier in the last hour, we were talking about, going to Mars and the whole concept of space travel, of making a solid long-term decision, which is pioneering to another planet. And I think that you can pioneer to another planet for sure, but I think that also you can pioneer in your own life right here in this country. You can pioneer in your own life. And I think it's important to realize that sometimes we're programmed to not realize the power we have in our own lives. We essentially feel powerless. We essentially feel that all the decisions that are big are already made, and that everything's already set up and everything's already pre-planned. And I find that hard to believe. I really think that, like we were talking about earlier, you can make a decision to go left or right. You can make a decision to show up or not show up, and that can change your whole destiny. But I think it's all because of your choice. We all have the choice to make the decision. So do you choose tonight to begin to have or to continue to have a life worth living, or do you continue tonight to continue to have a life that you're unhappy with? And I think that's what we need to talk about. So we talked about exploring your own truth. What is my truth? I mean, and our truth goes against what society tells you. It'll go against what programming you've been told. So like what we talked about before the break, were you raised to believe that you could be anything? Were you raised to believe that you could be an astronaut, the president of the United States? Or were you raised to believe that, it would be lucky for you to have a clerk job, at the local pharmacy? I mean, you have to think about it from what perspective somebody was raised, and some people feel like no matter what they do, it's not going to change anything. They're just one person, and I find that hard to believe. I think we can accept to believe that if we don't want to take on responsibility.
Well, and I think that you've kind of hit the crux of the issue tonight, Ashley. Some people are pioneers, some aren't. So some people want to take that step into the unknown. For some people, it's terrifying, and they would rather stick with the situation they have, however good, bad, or indifferent it is, than ever change anything what they're doing. It could be their program. It could be just their natural personality.
Yeah, I mean, some people also have a fear of complacency. For example, like I'm terrified of staying home. Terrified because guess what? I might miss out on something. So you're
one of those people. You don't like to go to sleep at night, do you?
No, I don't like going to sleep at night.
Actually, I know you're that way.
I used to be. I've gotten over it a little bit.
Yeah.
I used to be like, everything's going on. I'm missing something. It's all happening. And I'm at home. And there's probably something really great going on. And I'm missing it because I'm home. But now I've gotten over that a little bit. And I've realized that, I'm probably not. But I might be missing something, but I don't know.
And
I got over it.
Well, in my case, I mean, I know I'm probably missing something, but darn, it feels good to go to sleep.
I like sleeping.
I do like sleeping. It depends on the time of day I'm sleeping. But,
that's true.
Yeah, but I got.
And if your boss is catching you,
exactly.
while you're at the computer monitor.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Just doing some research.
I got stuff to do during the day. I got this thing called a job. Because if I didn't have a job, then I wouldn't be able to eat. So yeah, I kind of like sleeping at night. But like what I was saying though, it's like it seems like when I'm at home, it's like I'm gonna miss out on something like going to the downtown area and taking photographs and stuff like that. It's like, man, I might miss out on a really great shot. So like I'll go out and people don't understand. Like someone asked me, hey, I would like to go out and take pictures with you. I'm like, are you sure you want to do that? Like, yeah, I don't see the problem with it. I'm like, no, I do everything on foot. I will walk like 3 miles.
3 whole miles?
Yeah.
So to some people, I mean,
yeah,
oh my God.
To a lot of people, like walking around 3 miles in downtown Dallas, when it's hot outside with your backpack on, a lot of people can't do it.
My dad is one of those kind of people, but he can walk his butt into an LSU football game, and he can walk all the way across town for that and not think once about it. And he's 6'4".
It's the motivation.
He's got long legs, right? Now, if you have one time he was in town and he had a flat tire, and we had to go to the tire shop and we walked back to have brunch, right? It was like a 0.9 mile. It wasn't even a full mile, and the whole way. How much farther is it? Is there a lot much farther? Is it really far? And I mean, literally, it wasn't even a whole mile. But you're right. People get especially in certain places in the country where it's driving is more preferred over walking. Right?
Well, yeah. I mean, I know it's like that here in Dallas.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is like that here in Dallas. I mean, like I'm like, yeah, it's 10 blocks that way. Like, oh, what? Hey,
or whatever,
yeah.
They're like Arizona. There's a lot of different states that people don't, people drive everywhere. But they're,
L.A.
Yeah, Los
New York's
Angeles, yeah.
different, people walk a lot. But so let's talk about calibrating your internal compass. I think that, we all have this internal compass. We all know what north, south, east, and west is. We all know what we love, what we don't love. We all know what makes us feel insecure, what makes us feel secure. We all know what makes us happy. And so we have to kind of learn what thoughts, what words, what actions, what memories, right, serve us or don't serve us.
Well, yeah, I mean, because again, that makes up, what is your truth? It makes up who you are, and it makes up your starting point. Because if you're going to be a pioneer in your own life, you're going to have a starting point. So everything that's happened up to that point, then that becomes part of you.
Exactly.
For good, bad, or indifferent.
Yeah, I mean, you're the sum of your total experiences.
Exactly. And
you have to take responsibility for those experiences.
Guess what? I mean, even the early pioneers or the pioneers that are going to go to Mars, they're going to carry baggage with them.
Yeah, they are.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so we're all going to carry that baggage with us, and it just kind of depends on if you're going to travel heavy or travel light.
And that's a very good point, because that's exactly true. I mean, what are you going to take with you? What memories serve you? What actions, what words do you say? Because a lot of people listening, or they have friends that are listening that want to have this really great life. They want to have a life worth living, but yet the things that they say to themselves on a daily basis puts themselves down. The things that they say to themselves, I'll never be this, I'll never do that, I can't ever commit to anything. Or the actions. I mean, I think actions speak louder than words. I mean, the way that we have actions on a daily basis specifies the fact, are you a pioneer or are you a prisoner? I mean, really, what is it? What does it come down to? Do you allow yourself to have new experiences? Do you put yourself out there? Do you allow yourself to remove yourself from your comfort zone at certain points of time? Do you understand the benefit of learning something new? Do you understand the benefit of not being in control? And I think a lot of times control is an issue. When somebody wants to control every facet of their life, right? They want to control everybody in it too.
Over planning.
Our listeners really ought to get online and answer all those questions you just asked.
That's a great idea, because people have been getting online right now, and I like what's already happening, and I think we need to have this conversation because we can take it to the next level. I mean, there's a lot of people on here, and you can see things, for yourself and understand that you're in the boat with other people. I mean, you don't have to do this alone. You can make changes, or you can continue your life where it's at and better it even more, or be happy with with it, And so look on Twitter, go on and crank into Twitter and go to at Ashley Burgess, or go to Facebook and go to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess. We're in conversation right now live, so do that right now. So let's talk about the concept of writing your manifesto.
Aha.
Your manifest. Some people call it the eulogy. I think that's a little.
Yeah.
I think that's a little like morbid.
Yeah, that's like what's it called? The self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah, if you're gonna,
the headstone.
if you're going to put it in
I'll just call it the will.
Your will, exactly. So think about that. I mean, when you want people to remember you, I mean, what would that be? I mean, are you doing your life? Are you creating a life that you want people to remember?
You know what just popped in my head, Ashley?
What?
From a Christmas Carol, Scrooge.
Oh, yeah.
The ghost of Christmas Future.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, how do you want to be remembered? And, he saw his own headstone, and it's just like this little thing, that off in the corner that you can't even really see.
Oh, yeah.
Is
a big
that
deal.
I mean, to me, I don't want a monument or anything named after me, but I would like, at least a decent sized headstone.
Bill really wants a huge mausoleum.
No.
Let's get it. You've already shown me pictures and all. I'm just kidding.
No.
No, he's not morbid. He hasn't shown me pictures of mausoleum. But no, I agree with you. It's about what do you want people to remember you by? And I think better yet than a eulogy is a manifesto. I mean, what is it? What is your mission statement? Maybe that's even better word. What is your mission statement for your life? I mean, is your mission statement, I want to, help, children and adults and elderly alike, do this, do that. I want to help society, do this, do that. I mean, what is it that you want to do? Figure that out, write it down, and do it. I think it's just as easy as that sometimes. So a lot of times we leave it in our head, and we don't want to put it on paper. And sometimes it's easier to see it and read it than it is to do the other. So when we return, we're going to give you the last techniques for how you can actually create a pioneering life and how you can create that life worth living. So stay tuned, because Perspectives with your host, me, Ashley Burgess, will be back in. We'll be back in 2 shakes.
I can lift you up. I can show you what you want to see and take you where you want to be.
Get in here. Give us your perspective. We're listening. And you're listening to Perspectives with Ashley Burgess.
Welcome back live to Perspectives, and I'm your host, Ashley Burgess. And on tonight's show, we've been exploring how you can live a life worth living. Are you a pioneer, or are you a prisoner in your own life? Are you experiencing life? Are you happy with what you're experiencing? Are you doing all that you want to do? And I think it really boils down to, are you living a life worth living? And I think there's 4 things that everybody listening tonight that you can help your friends, that you can help yourself to employ to begin, or at least to continue to live a life worth living. And I think the first thing is to realize that there's no time like the present. The idea of pushing out what's going on and saying, well, I'll do that tomorrow, or I'm too old for this. No, do it.
Once upon a time, I knew an 80-year-old who went to college for the first time and graduated.
Yeah, when I was in college, I think I was in the class with someone who was like around 90.
Yeah.
Yeah, around 90. Yeah, she graduated too. Yeah,
That's awesome.
Yeah, she graduated from.
So as long as you're taking breath, it's not too late.
Well, no, it's not too late. I mean, granted, theoretically, everyone does have a shelf life, but you have no idea what that shelf life is. And the thing is, though, knowing that you do have a shelf life, then might as well do all the stuff you can do.
And do it now.
Yeah.
And start doing it now.
Yeah,
while you can.
Yeah. I'm like, do it while you can, because the thing is, once you're gone, you're gone. I don't care what anybody tells you. You're gone.
And
That's it.
Yeah, you're gone. And I think you have to make a decision. Is my life worth it? Is my life worth being a pioneer? Is my life worth living in the present? And is my life worth doing what I want to do? And if it doesn't go against your values and it really complements you, then you really kind of need to do it. Because otherwise you have regret, and otherwise you're just not living a life that's technically worth living. And I think it's inherently important. I think the next thing we need to look at is to know thyself. I think in order to live a life worth living, to be that pioneer, you have to understand yourself. We as humans are intricate beings. We've had a past that we were brought up with. We had a society we were brought up with. We were told by our family and friends who and what we can and cannot be. We accepted some of those drawbacks. We accepted some of those setbacks. We accepted some of the positive, the negatives of this and that, and we allowed that to be and make up our subconscious. And so we have to sit back and say, okay, wait a second. That's not me. That's not part of me. That might have been something I was told, but no, I can be more than that, or I can do this, or I don't have to follow this game. I don't have to follow this line of reasoning. I can go do that because I have a different perspective.
Ashley, and know thyself. That might just be the hardest thing for a lot of people to do.
Yeah,
to know yourself. In fact, I mean, you've done entire shows on this subject in the past, which, by the way, for our listeners, you can actually go to iTunes or to ashleyburgess.com, and you can listen to all of Ashley's past shows, and you can see. We've done entire shows on how to know yourself. And but that, like I said earlier in the show, this show, I should say, that's your starting point. If you're going to be a pioneer, you got to have a blast-off point, and you have to know yourself in order to know where you're going.
Exactly. You have to. And yeah, like you were saying, Bill, there's a dozen shows, maybe more than that. I mean, there's 150 plus shows probably up there on iTunes. So, just go to, Perspectives with Ashley Burgess and you'll find them. And that's where you can help learn to know thyself, because it does take purpose. It does take time. It doesn't happen overnight. I mean, you don't, how you learn the rules on Monopoly, right? I mean, that might have taken you like an hour. Okay, well, this is a little more difficult than that. And you have to kind of be willing to see things that you might not be all that thrilled with. Mm-hmm. You have to learn to accept things that maybe you're not so happy with. And then there's other things that you will embrace that you will be like, wow, had I not had done this, I would have never experienced this. Because I think to know thyself, to love thyself is like the highest love. And I'm not talking about narcissistically. I'm talking about for real. So I think that knowing thyself is so important. I think it's inherent.
Who was the philosopher, Keenan, that said to thine own self be true?
To thine own self be true. You know what? That wasn't a philosopher. That was William Shakespeare.
Okay. Yeah. Some people might think Shakespeare's kind of a philosopher, but...
Okay, well, Shakespeare has never been any philosophy class I've been in. Okay. I'm like, anytime I hear about Shakespeare, it's always been in like either a literature or my theater classes that I did, But yeah, it was. I think it was William Shakespeare. But the thing is, it's like knowing yourself. I mean, that's a really hard one, because the thing is, it's like you know yourself a certain way because you know yourself from the inside out. Because when you think about it, none of us have really truly seen our faces.
It's kind of,
you get it?
Yeah, I mean the old saying, other people know yourself better than you know.
Yeah, like if someone lives with you, that person knows you like really good,
maybe even too well.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe even too well.
Too much
they know you too well. I mean, like they know you to the point to where like they know what's gonna like just really push your buttons. Because the thing is, you're not gonna push your own buttons.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to push your own
some
buttons.
Some of us are a little satanic. We might do that.
Oh, yeah, I know, right?
Push my own button. Mad.
And your head starts spinning around.
And it's like, oh my God, that's Medusa. Oh my God.
So like the way I see it, I mean, like in order to like really know yourself, you have to be willing to be in seclusion.
In seclusion, I think you need to spend time with yourself. You can't sit there and run from yourself. You can't have to be entertained all the time. You need to spend time. You need to do some meditation, and that's all in those other shows, because that's there's 500 shows like that. But let's go to the next one. What about stopping personal judgment? In order to be a pioneer in your life, you have to stop personal judgment right now.
You mean judging yourself?
Yes.
Okay.
Judging yourself. I can't do this. I'm not prepared for this. I'm scared. I'm never going to get this done. This is something out of my wheelhouse. I've never been explained this. My family's never done this. I'm never going to amount to this. This is never going to happen for me. I mean, think about it. How many times do people say that because it's just something that's just not in their, they don't think it's in their repertoire.
Your mind has to stop putting obstacles in your way. Yet another previous show.
Previous show as well. Yeah. And think about judgment as well on the flip side. In order to really be a really great pioneer in your life, you got to quit judging other people. Because really, once you realize that it's all within us, that everything that you see out there was a part of you, that the things that we like to judge on is something that we experienced in the past as a personal issue, that a lot of times it all hits home. When you start realizing that and you take out a judgment of other people, guess what? Life becomes more clear because the minutia, the drama's gone. Because it doesn't matter what they're doing. Nobody's going to sit back and say, well, hey, I listened to 500 hours and watched 500 hours of the Kardashians, or I got to talk crap about my friends for the last 3 hours on the phone. Well, what were you pioneering on that deal?
Nothing.
Doing nothing. You know what I mean? Creating nothing, making nothing, doing nothing. And that's the thing, is do the opposite. Quit judging. Because when we judge other people, guess what? It's judging ourselves too. It's a part of personal judgment.
Your own judgments are reflecting, onto other people. You're kind of, turning the mirror on them when you should be turning it on yourself.
Yeah, or maybe not judging yourself and realizing we do have setbacks. We do have things that we're not going to change those things. Don't beat yourself up for it, but change those things. But realize nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, get it over. Nobody's perfect. I mean,
give yourself a break.
I mean, you might want to, you might want to judge people when you're, going up in the spacecraft to Mars and realize that you have the rest of eternity with them. But however, I think that in reality, because that could get really bad. But let's look at the last one. The 4 things to employ to have a life worth living. The last but not least is you have the power of choice. You distinctly have the power to choose pioneer, or you can choose prisoner. And your choice, you have to realize you have the innate responsibility that you can't sit there and say, I never got to do this because this person held me back. You allowed that person to hold you back.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah,
you did.
You created this.
Yeah, if you're paying for someone's life, then guess what? I mean, I can't do this because, whatever.
Well, you co-created it.
Yeah, you co-created it.
Yeah, you created it, you kept it, you chose it.
Yeah.
So you have to at least jump out of that. Whether it's beliefs, like old pattern beliefs, you got to jump out of that too, because you can't sit there. You can't sit there and yell at old pattern beliefs. That's part of you. You have to let it go, but you also have to realize that you can choose it. You can choose right now. You know what? I want this to be my life. I want my mantra. I want my mission statement to read, X, Y, Z. I did this, I did that, I did this. If you want to go save people or do something, go in a position where you can do it. Get out there and actually try it out. It doesn't mean you have to do it forever. Just try it out. Do it. If you want to just make changes, you want to start going to different places, doing different things, do it. You want to learn something new, go do it. Don't hold yourself back. Like you were saying, 90-year-old women going back to school, graduating. That's amazing. They wanted to do that. And even if they didn't make it all the way through, they were happy. And they knew that they were completing something that they always wanted to do with no regret.
Exactly. I did that. That's what she was like, yeah.
Look what I did.
Yeah.
Look at the diploma I got.
Look what I did.
It's amazing. That's a great feeling. And so being a pioneer could be going back to school. Being a pioneer could be starting a business. Being a pioneer could be learning more about yourself.
Being a pioneer could mean, especially in my case, learning how to put yourself out there in order to attract a significant other. That was really hard for me.
That's a good one. Like putting yourself out there, making yourself maybe vulnerable to a degree.
Yes.
And vulnerability is not a bad thing. It's an openness. It's allowing other people in, So I feel like we have a good hand on this, a good feel, a good vibe, actually, And so it's really taking personal responsibility. Are you the pioneer or are you the prisoner? So stay tuned. We got a great show next week. Keenan, awesome show.
Thank you.
Bill, awesome as always.
Thank you very much. And I also, real quickly, want to thank all the listeners for Facebooking and Twittering with us tonight.
Yes, we love this because we want to get it on, it's a two-ply situation. We got a plateau here and a mountain there. So let's do this. Keep it up because we want to hear what you have to say. We want to hear about your life and what you love living for. So stay tuned because Perspectives with your host, me, Ashley Burgess, will be back in, we'll be back in 3 shakes.